So our new series here at the Shala is a little mini series I'm calling Space Training. And after our long semester doing Viktor Frankl's lovely book, Man's Search for Meaning, we talked about how important it is that we create space in our life so that we have little moments between stimulus and response where we can make good choices for ourselves. And so creating space is exactly what we do every time we come to our yoga mats. And for these 4 weeks, I'm demonstrating how we're doing that. So the first week was Patabi Joyce's lesson, Why Hurry? Taking our time and pausing. Last week, I actually read from The Alchemist and talked about punctuation in our vinyasa. So when we move our arms out, we pause before we go into the next movement. And this week, we're moving into something that every Ashtangi knows well, is something we call Drishti. What's Drishti? Your focus or your gazing point. So Drishti is actually part of the latter limbs of the Ashtanga practice. So there are 8 limbs in Ashtanga, and we consider the first 4 limbs kind of the external limbs. And the latter 4 are the internal limbs. So we have Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. And Drishti is how we are going to help ourselves move into those limbs. So Pratyahara is what? Yeah, so you're withdrawing from your senses, so I'm not being led around by what I hear and what I smell and what I see. So in order to do that, we're going to use, Nicole is here next to me, she's going to be my demo today. We use something called Drishti. In Sanskrit, it means to gaze at or to focus on one single point. And I'll demonstrate this in a minute, but in doing that, we can withdraw from our senses because when I'm looking at that one point, then I'm not looking around the room and seeing what other people are doing around the room. Oh, that pose looks nice. Oh, those pants look really good on you, right? So instead, I'm focused while I'm doing my practice to not be pulled around by that leash of senses. The second one is dharana, and we talked about that a few weeks ago. What is dharana? To hold, literally to hold, we talked about, we're trying to hold the mind in one place. So rather than my mind constantly running around, 80% of the time in the future or in the past, where I'm thinking, what am I going to have for lunch after this? Oh, I forgot to do this yesterday. The mind is constantly whirling around this. So by using a drishti, I'm trying to hold my mind that I am here, I am present now. And what we understand from doing all this is when I'm able to do that, then I'm able to really train my mind to do that outside of my yoga practice as well. So if I'm fortunate enough to have coffee with Leah today, and the two of us have one precious hour to spend together and share life and what's going on with each other, I'm not constantly looking at my phone or the sound of my beeping phone or the person walking by or whatever. I'm focused on my time with her and present with our conversation. And this is an opportunity we have throughout life constantly, every day, moments where we can be more present. And in that being more present, I was thinking about this today, it's sometimes not just being totally focused on the thing that we are actually doing rather than multitasking, but it's also really enjoying life to the fullest, because I think sometimes when we are really distracted and always in this other place, we miss out on a lot. Like maybe a hummingbird that's just come up, you know, to the window that you were able to stop for a moment and be present with. Or something as simple as really enjoying opportunities to practice joy, which is something that Kim's going to talk a little bit about in our conference. Like rather than just being, oh, everybody's here today, cool, let's do class. But instead, I have this space, this moment in between where I'm like, I am so joyful. I'm actually joyful that you're all here today. I'm actually kind of nutty joyful about giving these teachings. I get excited about this. And that's a choice I make, though. I could just be like, another day, right? So in the Drishti, there's 3 components I want all of you to think of when you're practicing today or whenever our extended community is practicing. There's a physiological component to it. There's an energetic component to it, a pranic component. And there's also the psychological, which I just talked about. You're going to get a lot of benefits from being focused on your Drishti. So Nicole's going to be my example. We're going to do a very simple pose that we all do called paschimottanasana. And she's going to do her first version of this pose as thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, where she's going to have the Drishti, which, by the way, there are 9 Drishtis in our Ashtanga practice. She's taking Pada Drishti, where she's gazing towards her feet. And in that gaze, I want you to notice a few things. Her beautiful structure and alignment is creating length in her hamstrings and engagement in her legs, beautiful length in her spine, her cervical spine, and all the way through the top of her head. So all these benefits are coming from her looking towards her feet. Physiologically, this makes sense. This is what I would call good form. Energetically, if we talk about the vayu, so those are the winds, right? Prana vayu is in the chest area. Udana vayu is in the throat area. Samana vayu runs all the way through the spine where helps us with digestion and things like that. So just talking about only those 3 vayus right now, there's more we could talk about. She's lengthening through the spine, so she's getting that full breath movement all the way through Samana vayu. The way she's looking at her feet right now, Pada Drishti is opening her chest, so she's getting the full impact of an open chest, moving prana, the winds through this arena. And this one is so important. Udana Vayu gets neglected in our life when we're doing this all the time, and all this, we're just closed here. And this actually extension, this particular Drishti is opening up her throat Vayu. And to understand a little bit more about the emotional value of all this, is we're up in the higher chakras now. You know, so we're in the 5th chakra, 6th chakra, 7th chakra, and emotionally like opening ourselves up, you know, let alone training ourselves to focus our mind. So of course I'm going to have her do bad form. So bad form is a couple things. What you can't see is her eyes are closed, and there are some yoga practices where you do close your eyes, but not Ashtanga. So if I close my eyes in my practice, or Nicole does, it's possible she's thinking about having blueberry buckwheat pancakes after class, right? It's very possible that's what's happening. But if she's gazing at her foot, there's a better chance that she's going to really focus on that she's in this pose, in this breath, in this room with these people practicing. Bad form, again, if we look at physiologically what's happening, she may still be engaged in her legs and lengthening her hamstrings, but we've lost all this good work in her back, and now she's just rounding her back. And I see this all the time where it's like people's heads are too heavy or something, they're just like, boom. And I just feel like, it's like I snap my fingers, like, you just checked out. You just checked out because we're not lengthening in here anymore. She's not extended. Prana Vayu is not being served well. Samana Vayu is not being served well, and especially Udana Vayu is just completely closed here in that. So energetically, we've lost a lot. I would say, give me a percentage. What do you think we lost here energetically? If we're looking at a value of this pose giving you energy, I would say she lost 80% of that value. If we're looking at, again, the emotional value or the spiritual value or the mind value of this pose, you can do good pose again. We have her focused again. It hurts. We have her eyes are open, she's focused, she's present. All of this is open in the higher chakras, and you can just see that just from a side view of all, you can just see how much more she's getting out of this pose. Here's what I always say. So there's value in the vinyasa. She's going to enter and exit very specifically. We've just studied that. That is space training. Within the pose itself, there is this beautiful space training where all of you can, create space in the body, of course, and energy, but also create space in the mind to really hold yourself present when you need to be and to move yourself in the direction you want to. So I can say that she's gazing towards her feet and she's moving her spine in the direction we want her spine to go. I can also say that when we train ourselves in life, we can do the same thing. So you'll be reading the book Joy with Kim the next couple weeks, and that's going to be beautiful authors, Bishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama. And these are two men that have had incredibly challenging lives. Those two men are just amazing heroes for all of us. But they've chosen joy. Those two guys are probably two of the most silliest, happiest, joyful men on the planet. And so as you've seen Nicole make this choice here is where she's going to gaze, we can all in our life as well use that space in between to say, where am I going to bring my focus? Am I going to focus on worrying? Am I going to focus on stress? Or am I going to bring my focus really strongly to I'm going to be joyful. As always, we're going to finish with our quote. We should have Nicole read the quote. So this quote is from the Dharmapada, which is the teachings of the Buddha. And the Buddha is very wise and said this simple. As irrigators lead water where they want, archers make their arrows straight, and carpenters carve wood. The wise shape their minds. Namaste.